Good morning and welcome to the very first episode of our Nebraska Ed Leadership Live Show. I'm Andrew Easton with the ESU Coordinating Council, and I'm thrilled to be here to kick off this series with all of you who are either joining live or watching this as a recording. And so this show is a collaboration between the ESU Coordinating Council and our NDE SEED Team. And so I want to give a quick tip of the cap shout out to those folks here. And so we have Ryan Rickabaugh, Jeff Gilbertson, and Julie Downing join us from the SEED team. Their work is with the Nebraska Teacher Principal and Performance Standards here in our state. And so I can think of no one better to support these conversations with education leaders regarding what it means to really think through and be intentional with great leadership. And so they're going to also be a part of every episode in this series where we'll meet the first and third Friday every month this spring to talk with leaders from across the state and just ask questions and grow and learn together. And so through the support of NCSA, we're also taking on this effort. And together, the aim really is that simple, that we're looking to create a space for Nebraska's educational leaders to connect, share, and grow together. And so I cannot think of a better first guest for us to have than the great John Skretta, who's the superintendent of Lincoln Public Schools, a good friend and somebody that's no stranger to these live shows, John. So welcome back.
Hey, thanks so much. It's an absolute privilege to be the inaugural guest and get to hang out with you. And definitely just thrilled to have the opportunity to jump into a collaborative conversation with you four colleagues. I gotta say, Andrew, you have always and continue to produce great content that supports educators' professional growth and development, and also bringing that blend of personal insight and a sense of well-being around the work that we do and how important that is. And Ryan, Jeff, and Julie, just thrilled to be with you, and thank you for the great work you do through the Nebraska Department of Education.
Well, thanks, John. And we're really looking forward to getting the opportunity to learn from you today. And I know prior to our time joining live, we had discussed a little bit that at LPS, you have a theme this year of leading through connection. And so what better place to start than there in terms of that sort of being a little bit of impetus for joining us today. And so let's just learn more about that theme in Lincoln Public Schools.
Yeah, so I would start just by saying that as the organizational leader, being a school district superintendent for the second largest public school system within the state, at scale, people sometimes think about organizational leadership in a way that I think overemphasizes individual will and individual effort. And when we talk about leading through connection, what I wanted to be sure to be very intentional about, and what our team of leaders throughout the district, building and district level, are committed to, is understanding the importance of leading through connection. And what leading through connection means in essence is that leadership is a shared endeavor. Leadership is achieved best when we collaborate with one another and when we engage one another and bring diverse perspectives to the table to inform our decision making. And so the other piece of that is that I think sometimes there's a myth of leadership wherein we believe that leaders are people who do things unilaterally, who are decisive, and that kind of factors into an authoritarian sort of mindset or a do and decide mindset around leadership. And instead, what I would suggest is that when we actually sit down together and have conversations and share perspective where every voice is valued, every voice is heard, we're able to make better decisions as educators, and we're better able to support the diverse range of needs that our students bring into our schools every day. So leading through connection is also about the power of leaning into relationships and understanding that fundamentally, one of the things that I've observed as a truism over the years is that relationships trump strategy. So you can have a really great org change strategy, or you can have a really well delineated and articulated strategic plan. And that might be fine in the abstract, but in terms of actually accomplishing anything, practically speaking, it's about working together, and it's about sharing with and for one another. So that's how we get people to invest in great outcomes, is through the power of relationships.
Well, our audience doesn't have to listen to anything more than that to know why we selected John to kick off this first episode. Thank you, John, because I couldn't agree more. And I would also set up Brian here too to speak to that. We wanted to let you know, John, what it is that we appreciate about your leadership, some facets of it, because there's a lot to appreciate there. And so, Ryan, I'm going to throw things to you to kind of follow up and share a little bit about why the SEED team invited Dr. Skretta.
Thank you, Andrew. And again, Dr. Skretta, thanks for taking the time to join us on this,
great to see you, Ryan.
Trial run. And, usually if you're the guinea pig, there's probably one of two reasons. Either it's low risk for the producers, I guess, or high reward. And definitely high reward is our angle. So we were excited to invite you and to have you on. And you're tremendously respected across the state, and the things you just mentioned through leading through connection really represents the work that we try to do, and the content that we're trying to push out from a leadership perspective, right? And just trying to understand that human side of leadership and support principles to lean into it, and support school leaders, whether they're administrators or teachers or any sort. And, just to kind of get into this, I'm curious, as you think about your leadership journey over the years, you've been in a number of different places. You've had a lot of great experiences. Can you talk a little bit how your leadership philosophy maybe has evolved to where it is today? And I think listeners would be curious and just knowing how leadership has shifted, and the need for this style of leadership really is alive and well. So could you talk just a little bit about your journey and kind of how your philosophy maybe has shifted and has landed where you are today?
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. I think in some earlier phases of my career path as an educator and an educational leader, certainly just striving really hard to demonstrate my diligence and my commitment, and making sure that people know, hey, I'm down for it and I'm going to embrace the grind. And I think that while that is important, there were phases in my work as an associate principal and a building principal, wherein sometimes the demands of the day and the multitude of things that are always on our to-do list causes us to be less attentive to the present moment. And so what I would say that I've tried to be much more attentive to over the years, as I have just accrued years of experience, if not wisdom, right? Maybe a modicum of wisdom, just based on many years of experience, okay, is an understanding of the importance of being present for those interactions, and that there are things that Dr. Michelle Rayburn over at ESU 6 used to describe as little big things. And some of those little big things have outsized impact. And I have come to cherish the importance of that. And so one of the adages that is around the leading through connection myriad of things that we try to do is understanding that gratitude fosters connection, and expressing gratitude and being committed to telling people thanks for the work that they do, and just acknowledging that. I've realized that in the superintendency, there are things that I get to do that have symbolic importance and impact because it's the superintendent. And so taking the time to thank people at every level of the organization, and taking a moment to genuinely and authentically express that gratitude towards others really I think it just really emphasizes for educators the value of the work that we do together.
It's great.
I absolutely, love hearing that, and the thought of just what it means for the individual who's showing gratitude, and then also for those that feel that from you, right? There's an internal benefit to being of that mindset. I think also, John, that I made me think about.
Oh, there absolutely is, because an extension of that is like you as a leader, we should expect what we project. Okay, so sometimes our expectations for how people comport themselves are, there's a disconnect between our expectations for how people are to demonstrate disposition and demeanor when we're not actually putting gratitude out there ourselves. Why would we think that gratitude is going to become like a hallmark trait of your organization? So we've got to model what we expect, and we've got to project what we expect, because doing that is really a key to others internalizing those truths.
Love that. I would encourage, this is a little bit of housekeeping here, also here from the top. If you're listening in and you have a question, we want you to be able to ask that. That was part of the reason why we chose this format, was because we've come up with some questions ahead of time. We're going to have some questions that as we learned from John, sort of interject on the fly. But we also want to make this a collaboration with folks that are able to join in real time. And so if you post something in the comments, we can bring that in here near the end of today's episode to ask a few questions to John directly. But I'm going to throw things over to Jeff next. Jeff, we put some questions together ahead of time. Will you share the one that you have, please?
Well, very good. Thank you, John, again for being here this afternoon, this early afternoon, rather. John, I'm going to take you back about 10 or 11 years ago. I was working on a degree through Doane University. And within my practicum experience, I reached out to you, invited you to lunch. I think I may even bought your lunch. I'm not quite sure. But we had a great conversation. And one of the memories I have as I reflect on that is you told me at that time, I was currently in Grand Island Public Schools at that time. I think you were at Norris Public Schools.
Yeah, I think that's right, Jeff.
Yeah. And you shared with me, you said, Jeff, your job is to simplify the complexity for the people you lead. And that proved to be invaluable, because I took that with me as we transformed a high school into a wall-to-wall career academy. And we couldn't have done that without simplifying the complexity. So my question for you is, how do you simplify the complexity in your current role?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jeff. And I think it also points to that kind of, I love the phrase or the verbiage around simplexity, right? Understanding that there are many things that we do within education that do have a substantial degree of complexity around them. And the key is being able to distill it down to an actionable playbook, right? And so credit to the incredible effort in building out that wall-to-wall career academy experience at Grand Island High. And man, like Jeff, think about how much of an early adopter you were and how far out there in terms of leading a change initiative that when we talk about education policy and practice today, it's frequently workforce development and employability skills are a couple of the top things that come to mind every time I'm engaging with business and community leaders talking about education. So I would say, again, it comes down to understanding what your playbook is and what your playbook consists of. So for the Lincoln Public Schools, wow, size and scale can feel or seem enormous at times because we have essentially 42,000 students. We have 60 traditional school buildings, so 60 traditional school sites, and then really in excess of another 10 special programs, focus programs, and other programmatic supports that are around that, that expand options and opportunities for students. And when you think about a system that has 7,000 staff members, each of whom I think of as an educator in their own right. If you're a bus driver, you're the first and last classroom of the day for students. And if you are a building custodian or a nutrition services worker, you've got countless opportunities to interact with young people every day and model ethical, appropriate, supportive behaviors for students that help them to attain our mission. And so within the Lincoln Public Schools, the playbook that has helped to simplify what otherwise could be or feel like a cumbersomely complex challenge is our 5-year strategic plan. And that strategic plan really is the playbook that articulates for us what the measurable objectives are and the key areas or the quadrants or pillars that we're committed to attaining excellent outcomes in, so that for us includes student well-being and outcomes, staff well-being and outcomes, district systems and operations, and family and community engagement. And I know as superintendent, I get the opportunity, not just the opportunity, it's the privilege every day to be a visible, vocal ambassador for all things Lincoln Public Schools. And that means external and community engagement, and that means internally supporting our team members. And if all of my effort is clearly able to be identified as aligned with one of those 4 pillars of the strategic plan, then I know I'm doing good work. I know that, my effort is not going to be fruitless, but is going to help to foster great outcomes and great cohesive community commitment in those areas.
Very good. Thank you.
I love that. That's what we're trying to do with this show as well, is the words of wisdom that kind of get passed along between leaders through those informal conversations that stick with you, that then subtly influence, the actions you take thereafter. And so Jeff, thanks for framing that for us, and John for 10 years ago setting up a point that we get to revisit here.
Absolutely, yeah.
Today. So with that being said, I'm going to throw things over to Julie. And before she asks her question, I am going to reiterate that if folks are interested, you can ask a question for John, and we'll circle back to that here near the end of the episode. But Julie, what is your question that you'd like to ask?
Morning, John.
Hey, Julie.
It's always good to be in a conversation with John Skretta. I've been adjacent in a part of your circle a couple of times in my career, from your time in Norris to when you worked with ESUs, to now watching you as the Lincoln superintendent. And you've always been one of those people for me that you lead with confidence but candor. You're always fun. You always balance humor with the truth, and you have an incredible just experience to be credible in education in our state. So I just always look forward to when I get to chat with John. But I have an interesting question for you that's maybe a little different. I want to know, what is one of the worst pieces of leadership advice that you've ever given or received? Worst advice you ever got, or the worst advice you ever gave?
Okay. That's an interesting paradigm to try to flip for me. So what I would say, and I'll pair it with a leadership lesson that makes sense to me, is understanding that sometimes folks have a narrowly defined lane, that they believe that if anything is outside that, it's not their responsibility. And the best building principals and the best building leaders I've met and routinely encountered on walk and talks over the years in terms of what they exhibit is an understanding that everything is the responsibility of an educational leader. So everything that occurs should not escape our peripheral vision, and should be something that we willingly embrace and wade into. And so Galen Bolt gave me some advice years ago when I started out as high school principal at Norris, and that was absolutely everything that happens at Norris High School is your responsibility as the high school principal, and embracing that and understanding what that means, as opposed to some of the worst leadership advice I've heard is, hey, I ain't looking for more stuff to do. And that mentality is never a mentality that really exhibits servant leadership. And so I would also say that mentality where it's like, hey, I'm just keeping my head down and staying in my lane, that does not project positivity. And I believe that energy, and the energy that we bring, the energy and the enthusiasm that translate to practical effort, that's what helps lead to great outcomes. And energy is a contagious connection, right? So we have to summon, and some days we have to summon it because it's not just there innately. Like we don't, well, maybe it's me. As I've grown older, I don't necessarily wake up with bam, optimal levels of energy right away. That's why sometimes, you know, you got to hit the Alani, or you got the dark chocolate espresso beans. I mean, I don't care how you get there, but you better find the energy to bring the effort and enthusiasm every day, understanding the importance of the work that we get to do, because that is just it. The privilege of being in education should translate to everything is my concern if there's a way I can support it. So on those walk and talks with building principals, and like we know this, having been building principals, things don't escape your attention. So when I walk and talk with building principals and I see their incredible commitment to the work, what I see are quick and compassionate interactions with young people to make sure they're getting where they need to get for the learning to occur. And I also see that if there's something on the floor, we're picking it up. We're not stepping over it. We're not waiting for, you know, you're not saying, oh, well, that's custodian's job. They're going to get to that. You know, what I'm saying is you bring that energy and you apply that energy to every aspect of the work. And that is really important for us to model, because energy is that contagious connection.
Wow, the intentionality that takes to whether it's by buying the Alani or or making sure to not step over that little piece is a something that you do, I would imagine, through practice to a place where it becomes like it's not even a decision anymore. That's how
yeah,
John
right. That's absolutely right. Where it's just become a part of the fabric of your being, and that's what I see from outstanding building and district leaders all the time is a presence that embraces the present moment and sees it through the lens of leadership and how we can support one another and basically remain anchored in mission and our core values as educators.
I absolutely love that. And I'm going to get to my question here then next. And I think that it feeds in there fairly well, or at least playing off of Julie's, in that, well, Jeff modeled this a moment ago, that we learn from each other. And sometimes we learn from those that maybe first started to operate in this space in an era ahead of ours. I got a chance to speak with the Schoolmasters group a few years back. It was so powerful to recognize that group had been together for 120 years.
Yeah,
right?
it's amazing.
It's incredible to think about what's imparted then through those sort of spaces to connect and to learn. So for you, John, if you think back to maybe earlier in your career, who was one of those individuals, and I'm sure there were many, who imparted something that you've held on to a degree that you're able to then recall that in real time here today and share that and kind of pay that forward, if you would. That's what I'm curious to learn.
Yeah, So I would answer that by saying it would be challenging for me to narrow the list down to one individual, because I have been blessed to be mentored by many leaders who took an interest in supporting my growth and development. And I genuinely believe that then has led me to internalize my sense of mission as a leader, my sense of mission and purpose as a leader is to develop and empower other leaders to achieve their full potential. And that's something that I'm just really interested in doing, because I think that that's a great way for each one of us to try to perpetuate legacy, is to make that investment in others. And so, I would start with the fact that I would never have gone into education were I not inspired by Maggie Ellison and Ruth Michaud, who were two of my high school teachers, who were people who helped instill in me a love of great literature and an understanding that each one of us has a voice that we should feel empowered to elevate our voice and engage and advocate through what we identify as important. And that was really early on. And then early in my career as an educator and an aspiring educational leader, Jerry Wilkes was principal at Northeast High School. He was kind of an iconic Lincoln Public Schools principal. And, he demonstrated to me that showing grace is a part of empowering young people to be their very best. And so it helped me understand at an elemental level what we now describe as restorative practice when we talk about how we work with young people to ensure that we're not doing things to people, we're making decisions with one another to support internalizing life lessons and continuing our leadership journeys together. And so, those are just a few of the people. Again, I've been really fortunate to have many people step up and say, hey, have you read this? Have you taken a look at, have you considered, and that's the thing I would say to anyone who's aspiring for a leadership position, but maybe has not overtly identified themselves in that capacity, but there's that want to. And I would say, ask yourself, if not you, who? If not you, who? Like, assume the mantle of leadership and go ahead and embrace the responsibility to do that, because we need everyone in the fight together to support education and to help our students attain their fullest potential.
John, and just connecting with you today and getting a chance to hear your sentiments around these questions that we've had the opportunity, and so grateful for that to explore. I'm inspired. I'm encouraged. I'm ready to get after it for the rest of the day today and go and work and do darn right. We're all in this together, and it's not, that's knowing you, that's not lip service. That's not, that is how you lead. That's how you live. And I'm really grateful that we have this space for us throughout this spring that we're going to.
Me too. I think it's phenomenal that you're convening these conversations, because it's just incredibly important for us to be able to have candid conversations about leadership and to support one another. Because like I was saying, it's a collective endeavor, right? None of us succeed on our own. We succeed together.
And sometimes it can be an isolating profession to be a leader, if you're in a small town or even in a large district, right? When you maybe don't have that collegial network that you can have, as you said, candid conversations with is just so imperative. And so we're hoping that this can be one of a number of ways in which people can feel connected like that. So if you've enjoyed today's episode, definitely check out our upcoming episodes, as we'll be here each and every first and third Friday through the end of May. We've got a list of all of our guests that are coming up, and it again will be from noon to 12:30 Central time each one of those Fridays. But John, thanks for kicking this entire show off. And
thank you so much. I'm honored for the invite and the opportunity to talk with each of you. It's great to see y'all, and look forward to tuning into the subsequent upcoming episodes through the spring. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you. Really grateful for everybody's collaboration, and we'll see you here in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.